Good morning, everybody. Sorry about having to cancel Tuesday's class, but anyway, I had some medical issues that I had to deal with. Anyway, we're going to continue with lesson 9 today. We'll see how far we get. I have a meeting at 11, so I'm going to stop like 5 minutes till. But there are a couple of, there's several different ways that you can add tables, and this is the first table that we've added that I think was an Excel document, maybe, or maybe not, maybe it was just already a table, an existing table that we pasted in, but the next one that we'll add will be an Excel document. We'll go ahead and work with that. And it, again, you can either, apply tables and create them by hand, row by row, column by column, cell by cell. And if you're wondering what each of these elements mean, especially when you're looking in code view, if you select an individual cell, that's TD or table data. And then each of these individual cells are located inside a row. And then we're able to have multiple columns. So right now we have 4 columns, and I forget how many rows, but if we were to select the entire table, so if I come down here and select the table from down here, let's see if it gives us that information in the properties panel. It's supposed to. Let me move that if I can, move this up. Let me just move the properties panel out. Come on. And if I don't see it here, again, one of those things, and I don't know why, I'm going to switch to design view and see if it doesn't give it to me here. Okay, so if I have the whole, I don't want the article selected. I want the table selected. There we go. So we have 33 rows, we have 4 columns, and again, the column width is at 100%. And as you may recall that I talked about before, that in early web design, instead of structuring your layout with HTML, well, we would be using HTML, but specifically CSS to structure it, especially for responsive websites. We were using tables in those days. And so depending on how complex your layout would be, we determine how many rows, how many columns you would have, and how many cells within that. And you could take from Photoshop and build a basic layout, and then you could output it, and it would automatically, and I think you can still do that, cut it up into, and put it into a table. But it's a very awkward way to work, and when you, especially for working with responsive websites, what you would have to do is that it wouldn't work fundamentally. That when you opened your website or your page in a small screen, it would just simply shrink it down, and that's not adequate anymore. So continue where we left off in styling this table. To get our rows the right width, to get the text to work properly in all of this. I'll go back here to live view. I want to make sure that I have the table itself selected. So again, if I come back in here and I click, I can use a tag selector, or I can use the DOM to make sure that the table is selected. And because we're going to have a total of 2 tables in here, we want to, like we did in the last part of the exercise, when we created a custom border for it, we're going to make sure that each one of these is inside a section tag. So I could either do that in the code view, or I can click right here, and I could say that I want to wrap the tag around it. And by default, it just selects div. I don't want div, I want section. Okay. And so now if I look in here again, you can see that I have section tag, but if I click inside the table, okay, you can see that I have the table selected. There's table data, table row, body, table itself. Okay, so there's the table itself, and you can see that it is in fact wrapped. Section tag is wrapped around it, and that's really important for styling it now, so that all of the styles that we apply to these will be to apply to any table that lies within a section tag. So I'm going to put this back down here. There we go. Okie doke. So now it's inside the section. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and we want to use our CSS Designer. Okay. And because we don't have anything for a table section yet, I'm going to pull this down a little bit. I'm going to pull this out a little bit, just so we can see a little bit better what we're doing. There we go. Okay, I want to make sure that I have green styles selected. And I'm going to add a brand new section now. And this is because we want it to apply to any table that exists inside a section. I'm going to go ahead and add that. And it's going to be section. We don't need to put a period or anything, because that is, we are editing, or we are applying a style to an HTML tag itself, and the same with table. So return key twice, and then I can go ahead, and the first thing that they want us to do is we're going to customize some text in here. To make it more compatible, it would really work better if we had some condensed text in here. So we're going to apply a brand new font family to this. So if I click in here under for the fonts, let's see, where are we? I don't want font style, font size. I want font family right there. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to manage fonts in here, and we're going to create a custom font stack. So the first thing that we want to do, and it's easier if I go ahead and I put, just do a search down here. And I want Arial narrow. Okay. And let's see if I even have Arial narrow in here. I should. Did I misspell it? I did. Arial. There we go. Arial narrow. So let's see if I can find it down here. There's italic. I should have it. There it is right here. Okay. Arial narrow. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that. That'll be the first one that we want. And then after that, if they don't have Arial narrow, then we just want Arial. So I'll add that to my font stack. Next one down here, which used to be my favorite, is Verdana. And the reason I liked Verdana for so long is that it was designed with the web in mind specifically. And then the last one is just the generic sans serif. Okay. So we're going to add this as a font stack. We'll go ahead and select done. Okay. Now we need to make sure that in, again, font family, we're going to go ahead and we should have our brand new one here. So this is the new one that we just created. Arial narrow, Arial Verdana, and so forth. And by default, it should change it now. It's a little bit more condensed, which works pretty nicely. Okey-doke. So the next thing that we're going to add, we're going to go ahead and to the same thing to section table, okay? To this new rule, we're going to make sure that it is, instead of 100%, we're going to come up here under the layout properties, and we're going to make sure that the width is in percentages, and it's going to be 95%. And you can see what happens to it. And this is a good sign that it really gets mucked up when it goes to 0. Because that lets us know that the rule that we are applying is affecting it accordingly. And I don't want 95 pixels. You can see that really works. Let's change it to 95%. There we go. So it's a little bit, okay? Changes a little bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add some margins to the bottom. And we're going to add 2 M's, YM's, because it's proportionate. We could use pixels, but 2 M's works just fine. Okay. So the bottom of that. And then we already added the font family, and the font size is going to change a little bit. Font size is going to change to 90%. So let's go back to here. And yeah, let's go back to font size. And again, I want it in percentages. And I want it to be, that's a good sign, because it goes 0%. We want it to be 90%. There we go. So it's a little bit smaller than what we've used, but it fits a little bit more snugly, a little bit nicer. And then we want a border bottom solid 3 pixels 060. So we go to the border and we select the bottom of it. Okay. And we want, again, we're going to go to the width, 2 pixels, or 3 pixels, my apologies. We're going to go to pixels, and we're going to select 3. And the styling the entire table isn't so difficult. It's when we get into the table rows and the data, individual data, it gets a little bit tougher to do. And hopefully we can do that without too many errors. And then the color was 060. We've already used it, but I don't remember which color it is. So 060, 060. Is that green? Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll add that. There we go. So let's scroll down to the bottom and see that it's added. And you can see that it's added to the bottom. So we're good to go. So the next thing that we need to add here is for table data, we're going to add a heading to this. Now, right now, it doesn't have a heading. Well, it does. It has date, event, and location and cost. But visually, it's not distinguished from the rest of the rows and columns. So that's what we're going to do. So what I need to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a new rule here. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to go ahead and make sure that green styles is selected. Okay. And what we want to do is we want it to be section. So anything inside a section. We want table data, and we want section, table header. Okay. Okay. So now we've added that. Now let's see if it changes, because I don't remember us, unless it was already added up here, that's table data, but I don't know if the whole thing, if I highlight the whole row, whether this was changed to a table header. We might have to do that. And I may have skipped that by mistake. Okay. So let's go ahead and see what we get here. Because all of the top row should be listed as a table. Let me switch to design view real quick and see if I can't select all of them. So, and it just says table row. And we want that to be changed to a table header. So let me see if I can't do that. So if I hit Command T, okay. So I'm going to put table header in here, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the Tab key and see how that looks when we go back here. So now when we go back to from design view to live view, okay, you'll notice how the date, the event, the location, and the cost now have all been changed a bit, but they are unique because they're inside a table header. Okay. Now, whether I was supposed to do that yet or not, I don't remember. I just know that we do need to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and under the new rule that we just created here for section table data, section table header, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to add some padding to it. So if I come back to the here to the layout, we're just going to add 4 pixels all the way around. Okay, because it could use that 4 pixels. Okay. You can see that it adds a little bit of space around that. And then the text alignment, we want to make sure that that is set to flush left, all flush left. And then the border top is going to be solid 090. So we go back here, we're going to go to border top, and we want it to be just 1 pixel. So the width is going to be 1 pixel. Again, this is the tedious part of doing these things. And again, if it doesn't work for you as you're doing it, then you need to stop and back up and redo it. So as I said, text align is going to be we already did that. 1 pixel border top. Let's make sure that this is the border top, right? And we want the color. So let's go back. Style is going to be solid. And color is going to be 090. Okay, so that was another green. 090. There we go. And we already added that, but we'll go ahead and do that anyway. Okay. And we'll click off of it and let's see what we have here. And you can see that for each of the table, the table rows that we have added, and that's really very nice. We've added a nice horizontal line that divides it and makes it a little bit easier to read. Okay, so the next one, we're going to affect just the table header itself. And so I need to create a rule for that. So it's going to be section TH for table header. So I'm going to go ahead and get a new rule here. It's going to be section table header TH with the return key twice. Okay, so I have my new rule. So now we want color, or the color of the text. And notice that these guys aren't lining up just yet. So I may have goofed here that under the original for the table itself, let's go back to the section table. I'm going to go back to here and where we did 95%. I don't think that's right. I'm going to go back to 100% for right now. Remember I said if I get too far along here, things could get really mucked up. So I'm going to go back to 100% and see if that, oh, come on, not 10%, 100%. make sure that they're lining up correctly. Because you can see that the date, event, location, and cost don't quite match. So I'm going to leave that for right now and then come back to it. Let's see. So we're back to the table header. So let's go back there. And we want the color. So color being the color of the text. Okay. To be FFC. And then we want the text align to be centered. And then that will make, because we've made everything else flush left, that should fix it. And if it doesn't, then I've got another issue that I need to fix. So let's try FFC. So that's the yellow that we've used before. Let's go ahead and add that. And let's go ahead and click here. And let's make sure that it works. And it isn't changing the color of that. So there is something distinctly wrong here. So I need to go back before I do anything else, because anything in the table header should be changed. So I'm going to go back again to design view. And I want to make sure that everything in the first row is selected. And that's really hard to do. So let me go back here. And let me go back to live view and see if I can't do that again. Let's select everything that's in here. I want to select this whole row. So you know what? I'm going to go back down here in the code view and try it here. So instead, yeah, it is within a table header. So why the color isn't changing, I don't know. Because it is all inside the table header tag. So let's try one more thing. Let's try, again, I'm going to go ahead in green styles. Let's go back and make sure, yeah, I've done live view. Let's go back and select inside here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select the table row, that whole row. Why isn't it selecting? Okay. Well, let me go back to just, instead of table header, I'm going to go back to table row. And maybe that, by going ahead of things, it maybe screwed things up. Okay. So I'm going to go back to table row. So let's try again. I changed that for table header heading. I changed the, let's try text align. So let's go text align. And I want it to be centered. And nothing's changing yet. And we want the border bottom to be solid picks. Okay. So here we want solid, and we want it to be in pixels. We want it to be 6 pixels. Uh, 6 pixels. And we want the style to be solid. There we go. So it's not shaped. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it is. Yeah, well, it is. At least it's lining up where it wasn't before. So line center 060. So we want the color to be 060. I think that was this color here, but 090. This one is 060. There we go. Okay. Okay. And then the background color 090. So now we select background. We want the background color to be 090. So I believe that is this green. There we go. Okay, so it's not changing yet. So before I go any further with this, because I know that I've made some significant changes here. So let's go ahead, and I know what I need to do. And I did jump ahead a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this cell, individual cell right here. And this says table data. So if I select just that one, okay, now I can go ahead and I can hit Command T. And I want to change that to table header. Okay. And now it's changed. So now I need to do the same for all of the others. So I kind of just jumped ahead a little bit. And now it is working. So now if I come back here, and if I select each one of these individual cells, or if I hold, click and drag, let's see if I can't select them all. And I'm not having any success. So I'll just do it individually. So if I select that one, hit Command T, and instead of table data, I want it to be table header, TH. And notice how it's now changing to fit the style that we added to that. And again, remember, I can't change that when the box or that table cell is outlined in orange. I need to make sure that it's changed in blue. So now I can hit Command T. And I'm going to go ahead and hit table H for table header, hit the tab key. Before you know it, we've got a good part of this styled pretty nicely. Command T, table header. Now, if in the initial creation of this this table, if we had specified a table header, it would have automatically applied that, but it didn't. So if you, in the future, if you create a brand new table and it gives you the option to apply a table header, then that's what you want to do, especially if you are going to have a table header, as we do right now. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is that we need to create styling for each one of these columns. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. That we're going to use the properties panel to do this when we're ready to go. But before we do that, we're going to start by creating a total of 4 new classes, one for each of these. And we're going to have a section for date, a section for event, a section for location, and cost. Okay. So let me go ahead and do that ahead of time before we actually apply a style to each one of these columns, as we did kind of after the fact with the header. So we're going to do the same thing. Now you could do that, select them individually, but it will probably be easier to select them all when we do it in the design view. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new style. Okay. Here, got to make sure that I have green styles, and now I can create a new style here. So now this one is going to be section.date. .date. So in fact, that is a class. Okay. And let's make sure that I added that. I didn't do that right. So I'm going to do that again because I hit the tab key twice. So I want section space dot date. And I hit the return key twice. That's what I want. Okay. And if I click off of that, I should be able to see it. There we go. So this is what it should look like. Now we're going to continue to add the other 3. So I'm going to do another one, and this one is going to be section space dot event. Okay, hit the return key twice. And that's important. And I'm going to click off of it just to make sure that it's been added, and it has been. And we're going to do that again 2 more times. Okay, this one is going to be section.location. Space.location. To return key twice. Okay, and I'm going to click off of it again and make sure that it's been added. And it has, and I need to do that one more time. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add another selector here. This too is going to be section space dot cost, COST. Okay, return key twice. There we go. So the next step, in order to apply and make sure each of these columns have been applied correctly, is that I have to be able to make sure that each of the columns has a class of either date, event, location, or cost. And so I'm going to switch from Y view to design view. And I'm going to scroll up here and I'm going to click and highlight and drag and make sure that each one of these is selected in that particular row. Okay. And when they're all selected, now I can hit Command T. Oh, come on. Did I do it right? No. Let me do it again. Let's scroll back up. Let's hit Command T. No, it's not doing it. So I need to do it. I'm going to do it from the DOM. And hopefully that will work instead. Or no, I don't have to do that. Never mind. I don't have to do that at all. With them all selected, I can apply the class to it a little bit differently. And I do that. I'm going to bring up the properties panel here. And you can see that in the properties panel right now, no class has been applied to this. And so if I click here, you can see that there's a whole bunch of classes that can be applied. And we just created the 4 classes that need to be applied. So the first one that needs to be applied is the date. So I need to scroll down until I find the one that we created here and apply that right now. And it's way down here. This is very awkward. Now you could do it, one by one and apply it. But we're still in all the C's here, and I have to scroll down until we get to the D's, until we get the date. Now, a lot of these classes that you see here are bootstrap. So we don't need, nor do we want them. And there I found it, right here. Okay, so there is date. Now that's been applied. Okay, now we need to do the same. And now that date has been done, I'm going to do the same for event, and I'm going to do the same for the others. Okay, and then we can go ahead and then we can take each one of these and we can apply a different set of standards or styles to them. So let's go ahead and do the same for the event. Okay, so you can see that each of these that whole row has been applied to a class of date. So let's scroll back up here and let's now select this one. And I'm going to apply to it, do the same thing, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to apply a class of event to it. So again, right now, no class has been applied, and I click here. And now I have to scroll down until I find event. And it's pretty far down here, past the D's. Find it here. CBE, EF should be in here somewhere. There it is, right, event. So now the class of event has been applied to all of those. Okay. Now we want to do that. We're going to repeat this step to the remaining 2 columns. So the next one is going to be location. So again, and this it's easiest if you do this in design view. Otherwise, you can't highlight all of the individual cells or in that particular column. It makes it difficult. And again, you can see classes, none has been selected. And we want now location. So again, I click and I go down to L's and I find that class that I created just a moment ago. You can see why with all these other classes that have been created in Bootstrap, that you don't want to mess with Bootstrap because you could very well screw up something that exists that we haven't actually used. So G, L, on, scroll down here. H, here we are, we're in the L's, H, I, J, K, L, location, it's here somewhere, there it is, location, teeny tiny type, okay, and I select that. Now location has been applied to all those, and one final one. So I'll come down here, and I highlight all of these, and this will be cost. So fortunately, this one is at the top of the heap. Again, none has been applied yet. And I scroll down to C, and I apply cost. Where are you? Where are you? Cost, cost, cost. Come on. I thought it was farther up, but it's not. So just have to be patient. Don't click the mouse too quickly so I don't apply the wrong class to it. What a pain. But my recommendation is, because I think they have done such a stellar job in applying, and there it is right there, all the styles to the table that make it look really, I think, pretty stellar. It's really, I think, an elegant design for a table. I wouldn't monkey with it. I would save it in the future. If you decide or need to use a table for any reason in your website and you need to style it, I would use the styling that we've already created here and just copy and paste rather than to build it from scratch as we're doing right now. Because you can tell we've already used almost 3/4 of our time here with this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to adjust the width of these. So we're going to start with the date here, and we're going to adjust the width. Okay, we're going to use style it in M's. Right now it says that it's 0, so that should be changed to that should collapse. And I don't know why it's not. We want section date, and we want it to be 6 M's. Okay. And that changed that. So it tightens it up a little bit. Okay. And then the cost is, so we're going to change, that's for the date. We're also going to change the properties of rule for the section of cost. So let's go down to cost here. We want the width of the cost to be a little bit less, and it only needs to be 4 M's. So I'm going to come back up here under width. And again, we're going to use M's. And again, because it's proportioned, that's why we're using that. So I want it to be 4 M's. Oh, come on. I want it to be an M's. 4 M's. There we go. So that should shrink it down, and as you can see, it shrunk it down a bit. But what we also want to do under the text is for the cost, we want it to be centered and to make it look a little bit tidier. And you can see as soon as I apply that, that all the text now is centered under there. It's no longer flush left. So the next step now that we have our table nicely styled, okay, is to make sure that everything is saved. So I want this to be my events working file. So I'm going to select file, save as. I'll just save it as events. And when I go back to that, yeah, that's fine, events. I'm going to go back and replace it so that we're good to go. Okie doke. So how are we doing today? This is as far as I'm going to take this today, and we'll continue with it on Tuesday. What I have, question that I have for all of you now is to see how everybody is doing with your MobiRise website, and how, if you were able to create the free Infinity. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing for the moment. And I can turn, if you guys want to speak, please raise your hand. Anybody? Okay, Dan, let me make sure that you can talk. Yeah. How are you doing with MobiRise?
Honestly, I haven't worked on it yet.
Okay, that's fine. If you guys haven't, we have plenty of time to do the MobiRise and the final project.
Okay.
Have you guys downloaded it yet and looked at it?
No, I haven't downloaded it yet.
Okay. Okay. Because I'm going to want feedback from you guys, and I want your opinion of MobiRise versus Wix, and what your thoughts are on that. For a quick and dirty website, I think MobiRise works really, really well. If you want something that's a little bit more complicated, and again, you want something that's WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get, and drag and drop and that sort of thing, then Wix might be a better choice. But we'll see.
Okay.
So Carlos, let me answer live to you. That's okay if you've only done just a little bit, Carlos. Do you want to speak, Carlos? I just want to know what, hold on here. Carlos, what are your thoughts on MobiRise?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Carlos?
Hello?
Yeah, I guess I think I can hear you. So what are your thoughts on MobiRise?
Well, so far, I actually really like MobiRise a lot. It's a lot smoother than Wix. I think the only problem with Wix, though, was just that since it was through internet, sometimes if your internet was slow, it was kind of annoying. But I think I like MobiRise. I really prefer a lot more.
Okay, I'm sort of having a hard time hearing from you, but I guess that you were having issues with Wix.
Yeah, because it is like a.
Because of the internet speed.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But MobiRise is actually it's so much smoother. It's really simple and easy to learn.
Yeah, it is. That's why there are no tutorials. It's just drag and drop, and then you kind of muck your way around it, and kind of grope your way through it until you build something. But I think the advantage is that you build it offline. And I prefer building things offline rather than online. I don't know why. Maybe because that's how it started out. But it's a preference. There isn't a right or wrong. I'm just curious. That's all. So let me go ahead and if no one else has anything else to add, let me go ahead and take roll. We'll call it a day. And we'll continue. I mean, we're able to get the one table styled, and we're going to insert the other table, and there will be a couple of changes to it, but by and large, because we've already done the majority of styling for tables, it will be done. And that will be it. That will be pretty much all we have. And then we're going to move on. There's a little bit in lesson 10 that we will do next week. I know that we started with lesson 10, but we can do some spell checking. We can, find some other things, find and replace things that you find in other kind of Word documents and things like that. But in lesson 10, working with images, I want to show you some things that you can do in Dreamweaver that you can do it, but I don't recommend that you do it. I strongly recommend that all of your images be edited in Photoshop, not in Dreamweaver, because the changes that you make in Dreamweaver are permanent. They are destructive in that sense. So you need to be very careful. And then we're going to move on to lesson 11. Okay, so we can probably handle all of lesson. We'll finish lesson 9 next week, and we will move on to lesson 10, and then we're going to move on to lesson 11 the following week. And then I'll give you guys some time to work on your website in MobiWise, and then we'll talk about publishing it as well. Okay, so let me go ahead and take roll and see who's here and who's not. So let's see, Dan is here. Actually, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to say goodbye to all of you yet, but I am going to stop recording for right now. I'm going to pause it and say goodbye for those who view this afterwards, so they can catch up with us on the lessons. And then that will be it for today for us. Okay, so goodbye to those of you who watched the recording. And I'm going to pause this.